Hello and welcome to The George. And I've got a very special guest today. I've got Scott Keenan. Now, Scott, you know, I'm not even going to tell anyone anything about you. Can you tell me a bit more about yourself, please?
Yes, I'm Scott Keenan, and indeed we are at the InterContinental Edinburgh The George. I am the head concierge here at the hotel. I've had the position for 18 months now. And it's she's a wonderful old lady. I started in this industry 20 something years ago, and I've worked my way through a number of the properties in town. I am very lucky that Edinburgh is my home city, so it's actually quite an indulgence to be able to show off your home city to visitors, locals, colleagues alike. It's a wonderful spot.
I love the way you describe the George as the old lady, because as I've been walking around and looking around, it's an old hotel like this. It's almost like a sort of giant library of hundreds of years of emotions and hundreds of years of exciting things which have happened. You know, since the 1800s, people have been staying here, living here, enjoying it.
Absolutely. So we opened in 1888. The building itself, in fact, we celebrate our 250th anniversary in 2025. So 250 years established as a building on George Street, but in 1888 we opened our doors as the George, and through that time we've been many incarnations. During the Second World War, we were fortunate enough to host the military as a postal depot. So the Army, the Navy, the Air Force literally took over the hotel, and we were a central location for mail going around the world for the forces. Very important. And then post Second World War, back to being a hotel again, and upwards and onwards since then.
Amazing. Imagine if these stones could talk.
They
tell you some stories.
Yeah, the stories.
And it's received many awards, hasn't it? And so have you, in fact, I believe.
Yes, we both have. Yes, I'm a little bit shyer more than the George itself, but yes, recently I was awarded Prestige Concierge of the Year from my fellows in Scotland, which was exciting. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there on the evening due to the global shenanigans that we all went through. But nonetheless, it was exciting. It's been really a bit of a whirlwind since. So.
That's brilliant. Well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you're saying you've been a concierge, City of Edinburgh, for 20 years. That's very impressive. Yeah. And everyone will be able to see from those beautiful gold keys on your suit there that you are a member of the famous, the legendary Clay Door.
True that, yes.
Can you maybe tell people a little bit more about what that means?
So the Clay Door, or the Golden Keys, we are a global society of friends and networking colleagues, a mixture of concierge and associate members. And we are your destination experts, if you will. We have the detail, the knowledge, the connections. So if our guests, travellers, visitors, whatever, are coming through our doors, it's an image or a significant sign that they can trust what we are talking about.
So people know if they come to you, they know you know what you're talking about.
Yes, exactly so. Exactly.
And you can do things that basically no one else can.
Yeah. So hence the symbol of the keys. They represent the keys to the city almost. We can open doors that maybe other hoteliers, concierge connections may not be able to. And it's all through, as I said, a network of friendship and networking. We are very lucky in Scotland to have a wonderful collection of people.
Yeah, it's all about the people, isn't it?
Yeah, all about the people, absolutely.
So you've sort of alluded to it there, And I know there's plenty of stuff, just like being a butler, that you can't talk about. There's plenty of stuff that you can't tell me. You can't tell me anything about your guests, etc. But can you tell me maybe a memorable experience or something that you're really excited about that you've been able to do as a clay door concierge?
Yes, actually one story pops into mind, and if she ever sees this, I hope she doesn't mind. So a number of years ago, we had a family staying with us, and there was the young gentleman, the son of the lady who was staying with us. His name is Callum, that's all I'm going to say. And Callum has a number of challenges in life, but he is an avid theatre goer and an even bigger Disney fan. We had The Lion King showing at the Playhouse in Edinburgh, and without him knowing, I found this information out, and he was off to go and see The Lion King at the theatre that evening, and I got there before him, and I managed to speak to the Playhouse staff and the theatre cast, and they very kindly produced a Lion King poster, and the whole cast signed it for him. And when he returned back to his bedroom, it was left on his bed with a little note. And the young lad, Callum, he was only 15 at the time, and he absolutely just overwhelmed, loved it. And that giving that sensation, giving that experience to someone, that's what it's all about. And I still think that's one of the highlights of my career. And I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I didn't have to do it, it was just because we could.
Yeah.
You know, it was really nice.
And that's what makes these moments really special.
Absolutely.
When you choose to do something just to make someone else's life amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. It just topped his weekend off. So yeah, it was very good.
So, I mean, I know that you like to help people. It's part of the job, I know, but you go a bit further than just the job, aren't you? Tell me a bit more about your sort of charity work and the organisations that you work with. Yeah. So currently, we are working with a local group called Project Search. And Project Search is based in Edinburgh, run by the Edinburgh Council in the educational sector. And all it does is it helps young men and women between the ages of 16 and 29. All these youngsters have a variety of challenges and abilities. Get out into the workplace, providing experience, providing the tools to move on in life. I've got one lad working with us at the moment. He's halfway through his first half of his internship, which lasts 3 months. And he's working with us on the door and as a porter, and it just gives him experience to get out there into the workplace and get paid work. Now, Gavin is his name. He has, he won't mind me saying this, he has a couple of challenges visually, he has dyslexia, so doing your everyday job may be a challenge, but we're finding ways around it, and he's moving on. He's developing really, really well, to the point where just last week we extended his internship by another 3 months, so he's now with us right through into the heart of the summer. So we're looking forward to seeing how things go with him and where he goes in life. It's going to be interesting. And how does that make you feel to be able to help out in those kind of situations?
I generally love it. I think it is really nice. It gives me a huge satisfaction seeing how these youngsters develop. I wasn't fortunate enough to have something like that when I was younger, but it was it's really lovely. Lost for words a little bit, but it's something I like to do every now and again, and on this occasion it's working out very, very well.
You've told me about how you help others and your amazing ability to empathise with people and do stuff to help them out. And even off camera, we were chatting. You're telling me about how great that made you feel to help people. But what we haven't touched on is your own personal challenges that you've got over to get to this stage. So please, and the people watching, and actually 99% of the people who meet you won't even know. So tell me a bit more, please. Yeah.
So as a youngster, I was diagnosed with a visual disability, if you will. It's called retinitis pigmentosa, and it affects the the direct line of sight. So everything I see is very blurry or very fuzzy. It's completely inoperable. It's degenerative, so the older I get, the worse it gets. As a young lad, moving into a career and a vocation in hospitality, it's definitely been a challenge. Do things maybe a little bit slower. But I think personality and attitude certainly override any challenges that I've had throughout my career, whether on purpose or by accident. I've managed to align myself with a very great group of people, either people who also are very good at empathy, or people who are motivational. It's been a challenge over the years, but it's never stopped me. As far as I'm aware, I am the only concierge, let alone clay door member, that has an open disability. For those that do come across me, as you said, Simeon, on first impression, nobody knows unless I'm in a strange environment where I need to use a sign stick or a white cane, as people may know it. And that's not really there to assist me. It's to identify that I have a challenge, and it's to let you know that I may not see you as well, or if it's a lower light or too bright sometimes, that I may have challenges. And it's been a challenge over the years, but your goals are never unattainable. Mm-hmm. And if you work hard enough and you push hard enough and you surround yourself with the right people, you can push through these challenges. You can develop yourself and move forward in career, life, anything. It's good.
Like I say, I mean, obviously I've known you for, I suppose, disclaimer, I've known him for a few years. I've known you for a few years, and you wouldn't generally notice your disability because you are so good at what you do and so good at making up for it in other ways. Yeah. I mean, just today you showed me around the hotel, and the way you move around the hotel, so confident, so fast. To use a sort of a bit of a cliche, you did that sort of daredevil thing where you said to me, you said, "Oh, that lift's opening," and the lift hadn't opened, and I'm stood there and I can see the lift, and I was like, "It has." And like you said, about 1 second before the door opened, which lift was going to open.
Very, very daredevilish. It's the usual adage. Whereas if one of your senses is lowered or taken away, your other senses definitely heighten. Taste, smell. In my case, it's hearing. My hearing is very, very good. So and I've been in this property, I've been in the lovely George for a year and a half. It wasn't always this case. When I first came on board here, it took me a little bit of time to navigate the building, learn where the creaky floorboards are, where the steps are. Does that ting mean the elevator is open? Which ting means which elevator? But you learn, you adapt, you have to. And again, it just adds to the fun of coming on board with a new team, a new property, anywhere. I was lucky enough to be with you in the Voco Grand Central in Glasgow during the week there at Hit Scotland, and navigating a building I've only been in once before is interesting. Yeah. Is interesting, but again, confidence. I try to be confident in what I do. I believe it comes over.
It does.
But it's confidence and being able to talk to people. That's the big part. Again, it all goes down to the people. Again, every time, it's all down to communication.
And it's true. Like when we were in the other hotel there, and it is a very. I'm not complaining. It's a very dark hotel. It's got that ambience.
It does.
Very low lighting.
Yeah.
And I saw you had your white stick. I'm pretty sure that's not the proper term for it, but your white stick. And I think a lot of people would be, because if someone saw you moving around here, like I say, the confidence and speed you're moving, and someone saw you then with the stick, I think they'd be really surprised.
Really surprised. Yeah, absolutely. Familiar environments, I try not to use it. Not for any other reason than it gets in the way. But in unfamiliar environments, whether it's another hotel, another property, airports, train stations, all it is, it's a sign to the general public that I may need a little bit of understanding if I walk into the wrong room, or if I'm looking for a door that doesn't appear to exist, or there's been some funny stories over the years. As I said, I was born with this, so it's there's been many very funny stories over the years of walking into the wrong rooms, or not getting out of a room, or aiming to shake someone's hand and missing the hand completely. So if I use the cane, it allows people to know. It allows people to know. And never ever feel offended if I don't recognise your face. I'm better with names and voices. If somebody walks past and just goes, "Hi," I may not recognise you instantly because of the blurry vision. So.
You're pretty darn good, though.
Thank you.
You usually do.
Yes.
You usually do. And, dare I say, you almost seem to have made it an advantage.
Absolutely. I think one must take advantage. I may have used the word disability earlier on, but I don't necessarily think it is. I think it's just another ability. It gives me an edge sometimes. If I'm talking to someone, especially guests in the property, we talked about empathy. If I cannot see a facial expression, my other senses pick up on body language, tone of voice, how someone shifts in a seat if they're uncomfortable, or if they're hesitant on asking something, or even the opposite end, that level of excitement. And if you're empathetic enough, you can almost match those levels. So if someone's excited, especially when someone's asking me questions about Edinburgh, my hometown, I get equally as excited as they do talking about her as I do about them asking the questions. However, if you're in a situation where you need to be a little bit more sedate, professional, that level of empathy comes into play as well. And you can read that without a facial expression.
Yes.
Or you can at least pick up on it.
Yeah.
It's knowing how to read it. And I think that gives me a certain advantage in my career as a Claydor member, as a concierge, as someone in hospitality. A friend of mine, who shall be unnamed, used the phrase about finding the why, and I think that's exactly what I do without realising it. It just happens. It's intuitive almost.
That's and that's definitely the vibe, shall I say, that I pick up from you. You're very good at understanding what people are thinking, how people are feeling before they've even sort of intimated it to you.
Yeah, I do try.
Also, because I remember one of the first chats we ever had, and I was saying, look, is it not a disadvantage that you can't necessarily Google things as quickly and things like that as other people who can just quickly read it off the screen? And you gave me a really interesting answer to that as well.
So I actually have a number of, I'm fortunate enough to have a number of pieces of tech that help me out on the desk in the hotel. I have magnifiers, I have talking phones, and this is all readily available to anybody in a similar situation. It's just being nowhere to go and get it. But I'm not the most tech friendly, but it's basic and it's there and it helps. And as I said, it takes, I might be a little bit slower, but the detail is equally as prevalent, is equally there. So.
Yeah. And you seem to have a sort of encyclopedic memory as well.
I used to have a better memory until I got a smartphone. I think
that's true of everyone, to be honest. Yeah.
My memory for numbers and names was phenomenal. But once I had the smartphone, that was it. It went all out the window, and I'm on the same level as everybody else for the first time in my life, which is quite nice.
Well, do you know what? I'm always very impressed with and I've said it in previous videos, I'm very impressed with concierges in general. And I think the gold keys, the clay door is, well, I don't just think, I know is the zenith of the concierge service. It's something that, and again, this is something I've said before, it's something that everyone who's fortunate enough to stay in a hotel with a gold keys concierge, you'd be a fool not to use it. You'd be a fool not to speak to them and get their advice. You know, even if you don't need something booked, just get a little bit of advice about the city. And I think you are the perfect embodiment of that, to be honest. I really do. So
yeah, come and say hello.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're coming to Edinburgh, coming to stay in the George, come and say hello to Scott.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll have a big queue now. So it's been a huge pleasure to talk to you, to find out a bit more about you. I'm lucky enough that I get to see you quite regularly, but for those who don't, I'm sure they'll be looking out for things in the future.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
You're
It's
very
really
welcome.
been a pleasure.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you.